mountains of pyrite to find that shine.
But you were solid gold. Their jaded eyes couldn't see it, but honestly, there's a fire in your soul.
An empire to behold.
Your adventure's waiting to begin. That glimmer in your eye says that this tiger won't fail, won't be caught by its tail.
Just keep your head held high. Don't lose that brilliant glow. Yes, it's time, you know. There's a fire in your soul.
An empire to behold.
Your adventure's waiting to begin.
You're so rare, can you see it? You can shine,
And it's time to show that light.
you're so rare, can you feel it? Don't you hide, cause you're bright, you're perfect, you're beyond compare. You're so rare. You're so rare. A diamond to the core. The pressure's building inside, it'll change your life.
Cause you're so much more, yeah, than you could ever imagine. So take your stand. There's a fire in your soul.
An empire to behold. Your adventure's waiting to begin. You're so rare, can you see it? You can shine, and it's time to show that light. You're so rare, can you feel it? Don't you hide, cause you're bright, you're perfect, you're beyond compare. You're so rare. Precious gems come in all shapes and sizes. A spectrum of colors.
Emerald, amethyst, ruby, sapphire.
We all are treasures deep inside. There's room for us all to sparkle and shine. We know two crystals are perfectly alike. Rare, can you see it? You can shine, and it's time to show that light. You're so rare, can you feel it? Don't you hide, cause you're bright, you're perfect. You're so rare, can you see it? You can shine, and it's time to show that light. You're so rare, can you feel it? Don't you hide, cause you're bright, you're perfect, you're beyond compare. You're so rare. You never fit the mold, cause you are solid gold. That glimmer in your eye, just keep your head held high. A diamond to the core, cause you are so much more. Don't lose that brilliant glow. Yes, it's time, you know. You're so rare.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Happy 1st of June. We are so glad that you are joining us. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on-camera facilitator. I am dialing in from a very sunny Edinburgh, Scotland, and I want to give a huge shout out to my co-host, Jennifer Kay, who will be joining us in the chat. She is wonderful, and she is going to have a lovely day where she is as well, but we are glad to be here and work on our week 1 setup for June under new month, new theme, so that means new journals, all the fun things, and all of the possibility of something to start anew. So embrace what we learned in May, carry some of that momentum, but if you had maybe not the greatest of May, that's amazing and that's okay. We can move forward into June with a new theme, new idea, and we're glad that everybody is here. I'm seeing some returning names in our group, so welcome back to all of our returning socialers. Let us know if this is your first social or your first weekly setup social. We always love to see any of our new folks, and then as always, make sure your chat is set to everyone so that the entire Sonder fam can share. You are welcome to share with just myself and Jennifer. That's under hosts and panelists. But if you want kind of the bigger feedback, that's into the big everyone. So Christine, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And we have a Christina. How exciting. Thank you for joining us. And Marissa, amazing. So just as kind of a quick word to the wise for those new folks, this is going to be a little bit of a kind of maybe sensory overload because you've got the chat that's going, but don't forget you can always turn off the chat, or you can click on a message so you can scroll up and down. It goes pretty quickly at the setups. You also are going to have me talking, you're going to have music, you're going to have slides, and you're also going to be working on your journal. So it takes time to kind of figure out your cadence. So if I am too much, you can mute me. If the music is too much, you can mute it. Have your phone or your screen grabs ready to kind of take ideas and pictures and maybe come back and work on your journal later, or maybe pause the chat and just work on the journal. Regardless, this is kind of an hour that you've set aside to yourself for your self-care journey, and how you choose to use that is absolutely up to you. No one is going to come through and grade your progress on your journal, how much you've made and how much little you've done. You can share as much and as little as you want in the chat, but this is time that's been set aside just for you to focus on you and your self-care journey. As always, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. The Silk and Sonder app is a great place for those questions. And then while Jennifer and I have some information, we do not have a lot, so we will probably direct your customer care inquiries to the headquarters team at hello@silkandsonder.com. And then Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So we are happy that you are here just as you are. If you've had a day, if you've had a week, if you've had a month, just take some deep breaths, give yourself some grace. We love to celebrate all of the highs. We want to acknowledge the lows, and we want to provide for support for all of those. So if you need to set up some mental barriers, or if you just need to kind of come back to topics or come back to sections, that is absolutely do what you need to do. If it's not there, you can come back, you can revisit. We're just glad that you came and that you're joining us this morning. So we are embracing the new month of June. I am obviously biased to June. I am a June birthday. The 29th is my birthday. So I love all that June implies because, like I said, I'm a June baby. And so I'm really excited about this theme for Thrive. These are two quotes that I came across. The one that is, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, so I chose to rise and thrive, really speaks to me because my dad, sister, and I all have a chronic condition. We have ulcerative colitis. And that is just a journey that we had to go through, where, you know, the kind of saying is I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so for me, Thrive turns into that kind of actionable moment. You know, you can't really, in my opinion, you can't really start to embrace or explore thriving without some sort of either mental or kind of physical action. And that was kind of the deciding factor of being sick and tired, knowing that you're probably in for a really long journey, especially if you have chronic conditions, but that the rise to thrive, I'm still going to get up, I'm still going to do these things, even though there is a journey ahead, and then realizing maybe a new normal, so figuring out how you're going to thrive in those circumstances. And then being from Oklahoma, I am a Reba McEntire fan, so I thought that to thrive in your life, need 3 bones, a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. I think those are fantastic stipulations. It's still that kind of optimism that I think everyone should have, the optimism and the hope. Backbone being the confidence and kind of self-esteem component, and a funny bone not being able to take yourself too seriously. But I do think the backbone component really kind of, for me, goes hand in hand with this thrive, because sometimes it's just having the confidence and the decision of I need to do something. I don't know what it is yet, but in order for me to feel better or do something different, I have to make that decision, which is why that's how I'm going to embrace thrive. And then sometimes if the theme becomes a little tricky, always recommend looking at a synonym. Some of those synonyms are flourish, prosper, bloom, I think is really appropriate, especially as we kind of transition kind of spring to summer. And then I think there are kind of some other ones like boom. Boom is a big fan of ours. When we get really excited when we accomplish something, it's kind of a boom. So any of these I feel like you can kind of embrace and rephrase. I would certainly recommend finding a way to connect to the theme, even if you have to kind of rethink the definition or find something that works for you. But I'm really excited to dive into Thrive this month with all of you. So under our agenda, we're going to do the Thrive Mind Map, the Rosebud Thorn, and as well as our weekly setup pages. So the mind map, the monthly mind map, is something that is unique to the weekly setups. So this is going to be the first week we're setting this up. So we're setting up our mind map from scratch. It is not a prompt that's listed in the journal. So you're going to turn to a blank page in your journal. Some people will use the last page or just one of the blank pages. If you don't want to give up a blank page, you can use like the scratch pad section. All of those things are great. But what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into 4 different categories because we're going to have 4 different weekends where we're going to explore the theme of Thrive a little bit deeper. And so things to kind of think about when it comes to Thrive is thriving is about ongoing growth both inside and out. So these could be physical, mental, socially, or kind of all of the above components. So it's not just about achieving things, but also feeling happy and fulfilled in the process. And so thriving can be kind of a specific part of your life that can be tied to kind of a specific goal or a specific area. Think kind of your intentions, those different categories. But it really absolutely could be encompassing of kind of everything. And so it's this great combination of happiness, accomplishment, and continuous learning. So kind of thinking of this larger idea of when it comes to Thrive, we're then going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into 4 different categories. So the first week we're going to look at is well-being. So this encompasses not only your physical, but also mental health. It involves taking care of your body, and that can be through, healthy eating, exercise, enough sleep, kind of that type of, physical rest. It also involves managing stress, nurturing positive emotions, and having a sense of purpose. This is just kind of the framework that we've established for well-being, but obviously you can use whatever well-being definition works for you and your journey. So the example on the right is mine, how I've broken up my last page into 4 different categories. And then I've also kind of narrowed down the prompt a little bit because I know it was a lot of words and a lot of definitions and ideas and concepts. So kind of breaking it down into like a little bit more maybe simplified answer or question, and that's embrace thriving in the area of your well-being. How can you support or create ongoing growth inside or out for your well-being? And further ways to kind of look at this that I found helpful as I was trying to kind of dive a little deeper into thriving within my well-being was you can break this down into one area of well-being, be it your kind of mental, spiritual, physical, emotional health, of maybe what you want to focus on, and then what steps you can do to support that area. Because what I do find a little bit triggering about some of these, but also really valuable, is you can hit some of these kind of squishy topics, but we can take those squishy topics and turn them into something actionable, which I think is always beneficial, especially when we're dealing with a weekly setup. Another thing I wanted to kind of highlight associated with well-being is this may be an opportunity to explore the 7 types of rest. And maybe this needs to be one that you need to prioritize this week, because I feel like sometimes the well-being can be associated with mental or physical, but I think the definition could actually expand a little bit more. Jennifer just put the 7 types of rest in the chat just so you can kind of take a look at that, because I think this is really applicable under the larger definition of well-being. And then I'm also a fan of kind of the duality of an action and then the resting. With thriving, I feel like it definitely has that kind of momentum, goal-driven, actionable feeling to it, which can kind of add some kind of artificial tension there where it's like, I feel like I've got to do something. And so if you have those kind of actionable items, it's always really nice to then be able to reflect on that kind of seesaw component of how can I then rest and relax, because we only have so much power in our battery bank. And if something is draining it, how can we add to it? So there's always that duality of an action and then finding the rest. But then at the end of the day, these could be just quotes about thriving, flourishing, or blooming, affirmations, or verses. So I'll give you some time to embrace or think about thriving in your area of well-being. How can you support or create ongoing growth inside or out for your well-being? Feel free to share in the chat. I will scroll back and forth through the different slides, so let us know if you need some time on those. I am going to stop talking. I'm going to play some music, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I know sometimes it can be a little tricky, especially this early in the morning, kind of jumping into some of these topics and themes, which is why I always include the don't force what doesn't flow. You are allowed to take space and revisit things later. What I think is great about these mind map questions is that you have the entire week to revisit these or think about these or think on these. I love that some people were focusing on setting new boundaries, revisiting routines and establishing those, or even breaking them down into different categories. That is what I think I really appreciated about this kind of opening theme, because I think a lot of those things are, everyone has the same 24 hours in the day. It just becomes, how do we need to reprioritize? How do we need to restructure? How do we need to revisit to figure out how we're going to be able to take care and protect our well-being? Especially, I feel like, especially when you move into the summer season, where all of the demands and structure become a little bit different. People are taking vacations. If you have children or dependents, that their schedules change. So it becomes really, really necessary to kind of take a look and break down what sort of well-being components you want to focus on and how those can be incorporated into the weekly setup. So thank you again for sharing your answers, and you can continue to explore the idea of well-being for the rest of this week. And at each of the weekly setups, we will not only present the new ideas for the blank weeks, but we also include the previous weeks. So if you ever can't attend one or show up late or have to leave early, we can always make sure that those are included there. So now we're going to move to page 30 in your June journal for the rosebud thorn, which kind of definitely goes on the reflection side. The rosebud thorn is a staple for the weekly setups because it's a really great way to reflect and sit back on the type of week that you have. With this being the kind of start of a new month, end of old one, you can certainly pull in some of those month rosebud thorns. But what I also like about the rosebud thorns is, for me, it's a really good litmus test. How quickly did I come up with a rose? Did I struggle with finding a thorn? Did I struggle with finding with a bud? And that can usually tell me where my kind of mental state is that week. And I also have found that if you can't quite find a rose each time, maybe that's something you need to repurpose in your journal to celebrate those highlights for the week. So a rose is a highlight, a win, something that went well, something that made you smile, something that you were satisfied with. For me, I went and saw Chitty Chitty Bang Bang last night at the Edinburgh Playhouse. I love that movie. I love everything about it. I love the music. I love the magic of theater. So the fact that the car flies absolutely put me back as a little kid in just the awe of the theater. Woo! And then I also got to see one of my favorite actors, Adam Garcia, who was in Riding in Cars with Boys and Coyote Ugly. He played Caractacus Potts in this and was fantastic. So it was an overall absolute highlight. Will go down as one of my favorite theater experiences I've had in a while. A bud is going to be an emerging opportunity, something that you're excited about, something that is on the horizon and you haven't quite figured out if it's going to be a good thing, if it's going to be a not so good thing. I went on this fantastic 10-day vacation in Ireland that I just got back from. It was one of those really fun bus tours with 50 people that I didn't know, but I made some amazing friends. And the reason it's in a bud is because I've actually already signed up with this kind of same group to do a Northern Ireland tour next year. So it's now something to look forward on a longer scale, because normally I don't plan that far in advance. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then the challenge, the thorn, is going to be a challenge, something that didn't go well, the stumbling block, something that maybe you need a little extra support on. That's going to be kind of the thorn. For me, as I had mentioned, I really focused on the social battery. I had a great time on this tour, saw amazing things, made amazing friends, but my social battery was absolutely almost to the point of like debilitatingly drained, where I realized that I do love talking to people. I do consider myself an extrovert, but then it was like all I want to do is live like a hermit for the next week. And I didn't realize just how draining that was. To the point of like a little bit of a shell of a person, but I was able to kind of put on a smile and go. But it just kind of, I was very, very surprised at how much it caught up with me, because I had had those type of interactions before. So I'm certainly going to focus on how I can balance the social battery as well as kind of the stamina for it. So we would love to hear about your rosebud thorns in the chat. We want to be there again to celebrate those wins, get excited about those buds, as well as provide support and extra love and thoughts around those thorns. So again, page 30 in your June journal, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Please continue to throw your rosebud thorns in the chat. But again, I think it's a really Great way to reflect on the highs, lows, and everything in between, as well as just kind of see where you are that week. Was it easy to find the roses? Was it harder? Was that maybe something you can incorporate into the weekly setup? But I also love seeing when there's a commonality of themes across those. So saw some kind of unexpected roses, which I think those are always fun. A lot of optimism and things to get excited about. And then I love it when children especially can be the rose, the bud, and the thorns across the board. And especially with that kind of significant season change, especially from spring to summer and school changes, all of those kind of thoughts, feelings, and emotions get there. And so thank you everybody for sharing and obviously celebrating all of those wins with everyone, but also sending that extra love, support, and thoughts for those with those thorns that are struggling with it, be it medical, emotional, or kind of other, life isms as we continue going forward. But thank you again, everyone, for sharing. We are now going to move into the weekly setup pages. So these are going to be pages 32 and 33 in your June journal. And as a kind of just grounding frame of reference, I always include kind of just general repurposing ideas that can be made for this, because at the end of the day, sometimes it's really powerful to just ask yourself, what do I need this week? Because there's going to be themes, or there's going to be things that maybe work one week because of just what you need to do that week, and there are going to be other weeks where you kind of got to need to repurpose or restructure. Sometimes it's going back to some of the basics and the simplicity, but there is no right or wrong way to set up your week. So again, if you get a little lost in what do I need, where do I need, what needs to be there, you can repurpose it, or you can keep it exactly as is. So just because there are examples here, if you feel the need to do something maybe a little different, forge your own path, this is your permission to do it. So sometimes, again, if you get a little lost, it's asking yourself what you need. And then what's great is that if it doesn't work this week, we can try again next week, and we can figure it out, and we can learn from it, and we can thrive in the conditions that we have with the way we set up either our attitude or the way we want to tackle this week. So we're going to start at the top of page 32 with This Week I Want to Feel. The way I approach this particular one is I ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? And so that is kind of my grounding truth, my back to center point when I have the highs and lows and everything in between that week. I can then use that as the how do I want to feel this time next week? And that's where my goals then kind of feed back to that. The to-dos get fed into that categories, these. But you can also use the same week, or you can use the same way you want to feel as previous weeks, previous months, or even your word of the year. So this could be a specific word, it can be a phrase, it can just be 1% better. Maybe you want to feel more something or less something. Maybe it's a particular definition of a word that you want to feel. Or maybe it's you want to feel a different way each day because of what you need to accomplish that day. Or maybe you're not really sure what it wants to be, but you can throw a sticker up there. Like I said, I do love the boisterous, but maybe it's more of the feeling I want to be happy like the little otter in a flower crown. I don't know what kind of word that is, but that's how I want to feel, happy like an otter in a flower crown. And so that can be one of those that you can use. So I'm going to turn on a quick song and let us know how you want to feel this time next week. Thank you everyone for sharing. So now that we have kind of an idea of how we want to feel this time next week, we can now build on that with the other sections in the pages. So we're still on page 32, but we're going to move into the weekly major 3 goals. And just because it says major 3 goals, doesn't need to be just 3 goals. Maybe it's 1 goal, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 6 goals. And instead of major, maybe it's just minor goals. Maybe it is just 3 goals. Maybe it is just goals. So do not let those things scare you, intimidate you, or force you to decide something that maybe you don't want to do. But a couple ways to approach this particular section. For me, this section doesn't change very much. These are the mental and emotional reminders that I need to give myself so that I can feel the way I want to feel this time next week, that then gets overlaid with the to-do list or the things I need to do. Other ways you can approach this is categories. So maybe these are, you have a professional goal, a mind goal, a body goal, maybe it's a mind, body, heart. Maybe these are just the 3 big things you want to accomplish that week. As we say, stickers are fantastic. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So maybe it's just pictures and stickers to define those feelings. Someone wanted to feel calm, centered, and creative this time next week. So they wanted a calm mind, a strong and centered body, and a creative spirit. But these can always be quotes, seasonal reads, getting excited about summer, a song of the week, another bingo board. I'm also a big fan of alliterations. So someone had their miracle mornings, their movement, priorities, and music. Maybe you want to have a productive goal, a peaceful goal, and a powerful, or the frog, fun, and fierce. I also like when the categories of mind, body, and soul are directly correlated with the weekly to-dos. So you can connect those 2 boxes, or you can keep them separate. Maybe this is just the morning self-care routine because you like the grid better than the blank square. Maybe it is a learn, a leap into, and a let go. Or maybe again, it is more of those kind of larger overarching reminders to have fun, be kind, work hard, hydrate, excuse yourself from the unimportant, or again, just the big 3 things that you want to accomplish. So let us know in the chat, are you a category goal person? Do you associate them directly with your to-do list, or do you keep them separate? And also, what goals are you trying to accomplish this week? And we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. So now that we've established how we want to feel this time next week, now we've highlighted kind of the 3 or multiple priorities or goals for that week, where you now can add in the kind of building blocks or maybe the actual things that we need to do in order to reach those goals as well as feel the way we want to feel this time next week. So we're still on page 32, now to the left-hand side. And so this can be a traditional to-do list. It can be a to-do list. The difference between the to-do and the to-do is that everything is to-done, but you celebrate it along the way. So the to-do are the things that you did. The to-dos are the things you need to do. Sometimes attitude is everything. I am more of a to-do person because I like the mini celebration. But this is a section that changes quite a bit for me depending on what I need to accomplish. So I am a traditional to-do list, but then there are times where there's a lot of things on my list that I probably can't do by myself, so that's when I bring in the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, or delete components of just categorizing your to-do list. I do live alone, so delegation becomes a little tricky, but there are times where I don't want to clean, I don't want to do dishes, I don't want to cook, so the delegation absolutely has to happen to the local restaurant. And Kate brings up, I am still having a light bulb saga, which has been delegated to an appropriate electrician. But that's something that I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do myself, so obviously needing to ask for help for that. And then again, because I am by myself, delete usually gets repurposed to delay because I don't delete anything from my list. I just get to move it because it probably doesn't have a due date. So keep that in mind that sometimes maybe you're not accomplishing your to-do list because it just needs to be prioritized or reprioritized because as we know, time is not always our own. And so we got to make adjustments for that. Another approach is the Pomodoro technique, which is another way to tackle your to-do list. The to-do bingos are great. Another thing is you can categorize those to-dos associated with those specific goals. Maybe it is just a recategorization of those. So maybe it's a call, errands, follow-up, or schedule. I also like the prioritization idea of listing all the ones that you need to do, all of you things you want to do, and things that you would hope to do. But you can always repurpose this section that if you have a to-do list elsewhere, maybe this is a to-be section, maybe this is where you track your kind of happy thoughts or your wins. Also kind of another way to do similar to the bingo board with that gamification. You've got a pyramid, all the things you need to do in order to reach the top of your pyramid by the end of the week. And then sometimes it is just a little bit of the things you want to do or the specific categories you want to focus on. Another kind of prioritization method is the ABCDE method. It is similar to the Eisenhower matrix, but you don't quite have to categorize it into the do, delegate, delete, or decide. It is where you, again, create a task list, organize your task into those categories, commit to that structure, and then complete the task in that kind of order with those kind of tools. And then you can kind of review your progress as you go. So let us know, are you a to-do, a to-da? Are you a categories? Are you going to try the need, want, hope? But I would certainly recommend, especially if you have things that have carried over from previous weeks, maybe it is an opportunity to shake it up and try something a little bit different this week, because you can always come back and repurpose it, because we know that each week is going to look a little bit different, and this is usually one of those things that changes pretty frequently. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to work on that, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I love that Peg is usually a ta-da person, but she's switching it up because she's got major events this week. And that is what I genuinely love about this section, and that's why it changes for me, because a week in June is very different than a week in February. That week is very different than one in August and September, as well as especially in the holiday season around the December. So the fact that this can be changed and adjusted each week when we get to start a new week, I think is fantastic. But being able to explore all of these techniques for what not only works for you, but also works with what you need to do. So that's why I think it's always great to come back and ask yourself, what do I need this week? So thank you, everyone, for sharing. We are still on page 32. We're now at that last section, the habit and activity section. The difference between the weekly and the monthly habit activities for me is that the monthly activities are the things that I want to do every single day. I will take 3 of those, which is usually for me move, read, and journal, and then those get overlaid with the reality of what my week looks like. The example I always use is move. I want to move every day, be it a set workout or just maybe my commute to and from the office. And a lot of that will depend on what my week is going to look like. If I have a lot of time, I'll do that kind of set organized workout. If the weather is not great, I don't like to work outside. So it becomes that kind of way I do it. So I don't usually always put a goal to it, but I do add that lens of reality so that I am doing everything I want to do each day as addressed in my monthly tracker, but adding that kind of managing my expectations of what it's going to look like on a day-to-day basis. But maybe you want to approach it as habits and activities you want to stop. Maybe you do like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method just so you can have some goal orientation. Maybe they're less of the like tangible things you need to do and more of just reminders there of being kind to yourself, accepting yourself, get enough sleep, get outside, more fresh foods, listen to upbeat music. Maybe you're going on vacation or you have family or friends coming to visit and you want to be present. So obviously when I was in Ireland, I didn't track any of this. So this section was blank all last week, and there was something very satisfying of not really having to worry about it, just knowing that I was going to be there to enjoy myself. So absolutely put vacation, out of office, any of those things here if that is what you need. And just because there are 5 lines listed there does not mean you need to have 5 habits and activities. Maybe you just have 3, maybe you have 2, maybe you're recovering from an illness and it is just get better. Also, I like the idea of being able to have your work week days look different than your weekends. And so you can make those adjustments as you need to do. And then, as always, with a new month, we have a new bucket list. I love Brooklyn Swinson. I love her style. So I love the idea of incorporating maybe a fun monthly habit or activity to do and embrace it. Plus, I love the visual of it. And then also, I feel like this time of year, it is dealing with the nice day guilt. The nice day guilt is something you might feel when you don't or can't partake in outdoor activities on a beautiful day. Jennifer and I were actually discussing this earlier of, someone is telling you it's such a beautiful day, you need to get outside. When I realized that a lot of that then suffers juggling kind of work and school and all of those classes. A lot of that stuff needs to be done inside on a desk. So I always feel a little bit guilty about not going outside, but I have to stick to kind of my prioritization because then I end up staying up really late, which impacts my sleep because I want to do it outside. The sun doesn't set here until 10 p.m., so I have a long opportunity to go outside. So if you always have that nice day guilt, I think these are really great reminders in case you have that feeling too. So let us know what habits and activities you are working on this week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing the embracing of turning this into a section that is going to work for you or that's something that you need or want. I also think this is another great area to put kind of revisit the other sections in your journal. I know a couple of not only our Sonder fan but our facilitators will use, check in with your monthly trackers, check in with your intentions, check in with your reflection, check in with a prompt. And so this I think is another great area of how you can kind of come back and revisit those pages so that you can feel the same way you want to feel this time next week. So thank you everybody for sharing. We're going to move to page 33, so flip that over. We are going to talk about kind of the sections that I feel like get repurposed a lot, so I'm going to group these together. Don't worry, I will go back through all of these slides, so let me know if there's a particular one you look. Kate also referred to this as the B side. I refer to it as the B side. We just did the A side like on a record. Those are things that I listen and do every day, every time, each and every week. The B side are ones that I think are gems when you really need them and when you really want them, but I don't find them something that I need on a weekly basis. So we're going to start with the meal plan, and again, you can absolutely use this as a meal plan, or you can repurpose it. Maybe it is a meal tracker because you're on some sort of health journey or a symptom journey that you're working on a professional with. Maybe you had a hard time finding those roses this week, so this is where you're kind of one good thing for the day. You can kind of put it there, reflect on it. Maybe this is where your to-dos live. Maybe this is more of a meal plan for the soul, where you kind of have journal prompts that you respond to. The last month's theme was trust, so it was kind of asking themselves how do they trust themselves, so you can kind of embrace the journal prompts within the theme for that month. Maybe it's a health tracker, a quest for the day. I love that someone wanted to feel composed this week or feel strong this week, so they ask themselves how did they show strength or composure that day. It's also a great place for affirmations. I have used this as a clothing planner, especially when it came to packing for vacations or work trips. Also, especially if I work from home, so I'm not wearing the same things day in and day out. Excuse me. Maybe these are the things that you need to do every day to finish your day. Maybe it's the how did I find my happy this week? We have some amazingly creative individuals who did a haiku every day, or maybe it is embracing and reflecting on a word of the day. Excuse me, fighting a cold. You can also repurpose the mind body health plan, which can go kind of hand in hand with the meal plan. But I also think it's going to be a great way to kind of maybe add to that thriving. What are the things you maybe need to do for your mind and body or your health, especially this week, embracing the well-being component of thriving. So maybe it's a mind spirit health plan, but maybe this is where we go into the alliterations. I do like the idea of reflecting on I feel this, so therefore I need this. And it's something you can do at the beginning of the day or at the end of your day. Maybe it is a quote reminder. As I mentioned earlier, I got really in tune to my social battery. So I liked this visual of checking your battery. How are you feeling? What's your status? And kind of what category you would fall into and when you need to prioritize that battery charge. Maybe it is the 7 types of rest, which I know Jennifer included earlier. Again, maybe it is that highlight of the day. Another area for how did you care for yourself today, the journal prompts. I saw a lot of folks were on a cleaning schedule or a cleaning plan, so that's where the home category is there. Another reading log location. And then moving into the shopping list, another section that gets repurposed. This can maybe where a bingo board lives, the daily rituals, the boring stuff bingo, self-care reminders, again, packing lists, maybe a don't buy and a buy. I liked the ideas for mini breaks at work. Also, again, gamifying. The individual at the bottom left actually assigned points for each of the different categories in the different sections, and then she added them up at the end of the week, and based on how many points she received, she was going to give herself a prize depending on that, which I thought was again a really fun way to motivate yourself by gaming. And then the I'm loving section is one of those you can just outwardly talk about and throw into the world the things that you love in that time and place for that week. I think it's a really fun, optimistic, and motivating portion. So I'll give you guys some time to finish this up and work on those sections. So let us know, do you repurpose any of these sections? How do you repurpose them? And we will see you soon for the closing. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Can you believe that we have reached the end of our hour? I have thoroughly enjoyed spending Saturday morning with all of you, setting up our first week in the month of June under our new theme of thriving. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Thank you, everyone, for being here. As always, we love to see your examples in the Silk and Sonder app. So if you want to share those, we'd love to continue the conversation there. As you can see, we do share those within all of the socials. Jennifer is putting a lot of those QR links into the chat now with the Silk and Sonder app, as well as the Refer a Friend. And then tell us what you think. We love the feedback. We love to hear about it, what socials you want to see, and when you want to see them, as well as the YouTube link. If you, again, have to leave early, have to unfortunately show up late or not work in your schedule, there are a ton of amazing videos in there from all our past socials. I think we're almost into the 600, 700 videos. So if you need a social, it is definitely in there. This is my playlist. I will include the Spotify link in the chat as well. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, a wonderful weekend, and I cannot wait to continue thriving through the month of June with each and every one of you. If you want to join myself and Bailey later today with the monthly setup social, we would love to see you there, and we hope to see you again. Have a great day. Bye.
We're here to thrive. Here's your invitation. Get up, go on and chase it. Find a little sunshine. Step out of the dark. 'Cause it's so easy getting stuck in the moment. Confidence will come and it'll go, yeah. But there's beauty in the long run, so enjoy the ride. When the world keeps spinning and it's throwing you off course, you're a driving force. Baby, we're alive, and the time is right. Don't wanna just live, do more than survive. We're here to thrive. Baby, we're alive, and the time is right. Don't wanna just live, do more than survive. We're here to thrive. Lose the hesitation. Come on, why are you waiting? Everything you wanted, it's on the tip of your tongue. When the world keeps spinning and it's throwing you off course, you're driving